Fiance hid our engagement from her male best friend, so I ended it and kicked her out. My now ex-fiance, 30 female, and me, male 27, got engaged 3 weeks ago. We've been dating for 5 years and I finally got the money to give her the wedding she wanted. Well, 3 days ago, we were discussing our guest list and I asked if she wanted to invite her best friend. Let's call him James, male 30. James lives in another state, but since they were friends for 10 years, I thought I could even pay for his travel expenses since it would be great to have her best friend at the wedding. She denied me, saying that it would take a lot of work to bring him and she wanted it to be a family event. Here's the thing, countless times, she mentioned that James was like family to her, so I insisted. She got annoyed and said, "I haven't even told them we were engaged." That took me by surprise. I tried to ask why, but she started stonewalling me, and I left her alone. After a couple of hours, I tried to ask her again why she hasn't told them we were engaged, and she still refused to tell me. And I admit, my insecurity got the better of me. In the past, James had confessed he had feelings for her, which she turned down and basically friend-zoned him. But by the way she told me, it always sounded like she had him as a backup, something not only me but her other exes realized. She married him online. They always made the World of Warcraft characters look like a couple, like wearing the same transmog and crap like that. When she had a fight with her exes, he was always there for her and etc. I told her that made me uncomfortable, and if she was not planning to tell him, she might as well consider herself single because I would not marry someone who couldn't be honest. Yes, I was pretty immature, but she did something even more immature. She texted him while showing me her phone something like, "Hey, just so you know, I was engaged, but not anymore," and sent it to him. I told her to pack her things and leave my house. Ever since she left, she has been calling me, but I refused to answer. My mom called me because she apparently called my mom and said that I was in a hole for ending things for such a ridiculous thing. So am I the a-hole? Not the a-hole OP. There's a reason why she wasn't telling him. And like you said, he was always there for whenever she had a problem with all her exes. I'm cool with people having friends like this, but not wanting to tell him particularly, yeah, that's a red flag in my opinion. I mean, I remember when I got engaged. My wife and I couldn't wait to tell everybody we knew we were getting engaged, and if we didn't tell somebody, it's because they weren't that important in our lives and they would eventually probably hear about it, but it's not like we cared. Our best friends and our families, they had to know, and I'm not sure about their relationship being a friend zone kind of relationship. It's like you said in the beginning, it's more of a backup kind of thing. At least that's the vibe that I got. And also with her sending that message in front of you, like, what was she expecting? Like, "Oh, no, I'm so sorry. Let's get back together," so you can send him another message and tell him that it was all a joke, or, like, what? Such a ridiculous way to react. In summary, OP, no. I don't think you're the a-hole. I think you've saved yourself a lot of trouble. And what do you guys think? Let me know in the comments section. And now let's check out the community comments. Wishka says, "OP, do you provide most material things including the house?" Your post said, "My house. Are you paying down her school or other debt? Don't let anyone use you financially if their heart isn't into it too." And OP responds, "Yes, I pay for the house, bills, and her car. She moved in 2 years ago. Other than that, she pays for her own things." Done over 69 position says, "So your ex-fiance didn't want to tell her boyfriend about you. Unless you, Polly, sounds like a great reason to end an engagement. If you want to confirm that she was cheating, offer to meet up with her for lunch. When you get there, tell her if she wants any chance with you, she needs to unlock her phone, and you read all of her messages between him and her on all media. I'm sure you will find more than enough to confirm that leaving is the best choice." Foxy Sly Old Statty Fox says, "You've done well to get rid of one woman who claims to love you but fundamentally doesn't respect you and believes you should eat crap in your relationships. Sadly, you've still got another woman who fits that description. Your mother, and it'll be trickier to get rid of her." And Weaver of Worlds says, "Not the a-hole. She loves him and not you. The first chance she gets to monkey branch him, she'll do it. You don't need any closure and she doesn't deserve any. If she denies you now, she'll deny you later. I have a cousin who lost his wife to an online Evercrack affair that turned physical. It's not worth it. Respect yourself because she sure as hell doesn't." Offset it. Hey, guys. I made some dinner and I think I'm gonna go with done over 69 position. Cool username, by the way. I'm gonna ask her to meet up and ask to see their messages. And to Foxy Sly Old Statty Fox, I'm already low contact with my mom, but I'm going to make my decisions after I clear everything up. So I'm kind of promising an update. So the community agrees that OP is not the a-hole and that breaking up the engagement with somebody who clearly doesn't love him is the best thing he could do. And OP in his edit promised us an update. So let's move on with that to see how this story ends. Hey, guys, I just got home after talking to my still ex-fiance. And since a lot of people ask for an update, Here it is. But I want to clarify a few things. As commented on my original post, I pay for the house since I bought it before dating her, and I asked her to move in since it was closer to her job. I work from home since I'm in tech, but she had to go to work. That's why I paid for her car to help her commute. And honestly, her salary is crap. I was her partner, so I didn't see any problem with that. I thought she was the one despite everything. She is smart, funny. We had chemistry, but I felt betrayed. Now to the update. We met at a coffee shop. On the premise, we would discuss how to save our relationship. At least, that's what she thought. As soon as we sat down, I asked to see their messages. She got defensive immediately and told me she had deleted everything. I asked her to see her phone anyway. She started to cry, ugly cry, asking me to stop. At that point, I had already decided I was not going to be part of the relationship anymore. But damn, I was curious. It took a good 20 minutes for her to hand me her phone. A lot of crying, even a waitress asking her if she was okay. So I read the messages. There wasn't any cheating like nudes being exchanged, them professing their love for each other, but what I read still stung. There was a lot of crap talking about me a lot. Texts and texts of them saying how terrible of a person I was, criticizing my hobbies, I like video games and pro wrestling, saying I wasn't a real man because of them and stuff like that. But there were two topics that caught my eye. One where she had told them I was having trouble getting aroused and that was frustrating for her, and one where she was complaining about how she didn't want to be stuck in our relationship. Yes, I was having problems in bed because I was sad because my father had passed away 6 months ago. And the stuck thing, I remember telling her that when we got married, if she wanted, she could leave her job and I would provide for both of us. I don't know if she took this the wrong way, but I guess it was related to that. I honestly don't know. By the time I gave her the phone back, she was already giving excuses on why she was saying those things to him. She talked about how he was like a therapist for her, and then she asked me, "Don't you complain about me to your friends?" And I simply replied, "No, I don't." She started crying again. I took a pretty deep breath and just said, "Just give me the ring back." I didn't have the ring with me like some suggested. She hesitated a bit but gave it to me anyway. I stood up and asked her to delete my number and to not bother me anymore. I then called her mom and asked her to pick up her daughter's stuff at my place. Her mom is a good person. I'm just realizing I'm going to miss her as I write this. She understood why I decided to end it, but she didn't ask too much, and to be honest, I'm glad she didn't. As for my mom, I didn't call her. I just blogged her for things unrelated to this post. I just realized she never had my back in anything. I was always trying to save an already failed mom-son relationship. Before I leave, I just want to clarify. I was never against her having male friends or any type of friends. People are going to cheat, friends or no friends. I remember my dad saying something to me when I was a teenager. He always said opportunity makes the thief, but I do not agree with that. Anyway, since I have the next 2 weeks of work, I'm going to figure out what to do with the wedding money. Drink some booze, play games, and watch Monday Night Raw later. Peace. Offset it. A couple of people are asking about the car. It's a 2015 Nissan Versa which she crashed 2 times. Both times, she rear-ended someone. I never liked the car. Weak engine, the interior feels cheap and overall bad. So for all I care, she could keep that piece of crap. But her mom called me a few hours ago to check on me and to ask when she could come pick up my excess stuff. We spoke about the car and she basically forbid me to let her daughter keep the car because, 1, I paid for it, 2, the ex wouldn't be able to maintain it. So I'm going to keep the car until I'm able to sell it. God help me. Also, some people called the story fake because they said I wasn't a real man for playing games and they played World of Warcraft. To be honest, that's on me because I wasn't very clear. The real man thing was more about the pro wrestling hobby than the gaming hobby, but in some messages they clearly mocked me for playing some games, Life is Strange series. In one, I remember James saying something like, "How could a grown-ass man play such a girly game and cry?" Yes. I cried playing Life is Strange. I also cried to R2-D2. The I'm afraid cutscene still makes me emotional. I'm a crybaby, I guess. Also, I want to thank everyone who messaged me to talk about wrestling and games. It really helped me take my mind out of everything. Thanks for your help. Be good people. Well, Opie, good for you. Even though your mind was made up, now you've got complete closure and there are no loose ends. Also, your ex-mother-in-law, she sounds like a good person. In any case, here's wishing you the best in the future, OP. Thanks so much for sharing and take care. And now let's move on to the next post that also has an update. This post is from the subreddit, Am I Wrong? And it's by user WesternWorker 1227. Am I wrong for wanting my divorced friend to apologize to me? My 2 best friends, Tim and Kim, from high school have been together since high school and are now getting divorced. I'm very close to both of them. They're both godparents to my kid, so I provided support for both, but especially for Kim. She stayed at our house several weeks during the worst of it. I spent hours with her on the phone most days giving her advice she desperately asked for. Tim also eventually reached out for advice and comfort, but just here and there. Since I was the friend in the middle, all three of us agreed, or so I thought, that I would keep what was said in conversations with them private as they were full no contact for a few months immediately after the split. Almost immediately, Kim started asking me daily to share information about what Tim was up to. Each time, I reminded her that we all agreed I would not share things told in private conversations with me. Eventually, Kim reached out and said that she spoke with her other friends and her therapist, and they all agreed that I was not a real friend because I wouldn't give her information for the closure she needed. She was very hostile and said a lot of rude things and decided that she didn't want me in her life anymore. I told her that I understood, that she was going through it, and that I would be here for her if she wanted to reconsider, and I meant that. Today, I got a text from her saying her and Tim have started talking again and asking for my registry and to tell her when the baby is born. My wife is pregnant. Initially, I wanted to reply and send her an invite for the baby shower too and to just generally open the door in case she wanted in again. But as I was typing, I realized that I still had some resentment for how she treated me, and this text in no way acknowledging it. So here's where I might be the a-hole. I know in normal times, she'd hate to miss the baby shower, but I'm not sure I'm ready to open the door before she acknowledges how hurtful she was. Is this too much? Should I give her a pass because of what she was going through and not press the issue? Or am I justified in telling her that I need her to own up to how poorly she treated me before we start talking again? No. OP. I don't think it's too much. I don't think you're overreacting or I don't think you're the a-hole. You just want your friend to acknowledge that she wasn't a good friend to you and accused you of something pretty bad. And on that note, what kind of therapist does she go to? Where did that therapist get a license in a raffle? I think your approach to being a friend to both of them was the right one. The information that each of them shared with you was for you alone and not for you to be sharing with the other person. That would have just made everything worse. So OP, if I was in your shoes, I would tell her how hurt you were that she dismissed you as a friend so quickly because of you just keeping your word to both of them. And that before moving on to how things were, that you would want an apology from her or at least to acknowledge the fact that she did treat you in a not friendly way. And what do you guys think? Let me know in the comments section, and now let's check the community comments. Swoopy17 says, she said that you're not a real friend. Why are you even considering inviting that drama queen back into your life? And OP responds, this is very fair. I think most people like to just write off entirely, but this is an exceptionally close friend who I consider family. Very deep roots. We grew up together. She's the godmother to my child, which doesn't usually mean much in the US, but it is a massive deal in my culture. I also know how hurt she is right now. The divorce was really messy even several months before it happened. She's had a terrible year. We all need grace, and I have a lot of it to give to her, but there's a difference between giving grace and accepting mistreatment. Elizabeth93 says her therapist told her he wasn't a real friend. What is that therapist from Wish? That's even better than a raffle. What therapist on earth encourages gossip? Not the a-hole, but I would try to have a conversation about why she behaved that way and how she truly feels. And Smitten Kitten 83 says, information request. What kind of information did she want? A generic is he okay or who he's dating or what? And OP responds, yeah, mostly if he's dating anyone, if there's any chance of them getting back together, etc. Because they were still technically married, she framed it as, if you know he's cheating on me, you're not going to tell me? I would explain that, of course, I would tell you if your husband was cheating on you, but you guys are no longer together even if there's paperwork that still needs to get done. He wasn't seeing anyone, but telling her as much was still telling her things I was told in confidence. Alright, the community agrees that OP is not the a-hole. Now let's move on to the update to see how this story ends. Thank you for everyone's feedback. Worth clarifying because some people misunderstood. When I said they started talking, I meant they are no longer no contact, not that they're getting back together. They've just opened lines of communication again and can deal with the logistics of a split. I could be wrong though. Tim hasn't mentioned and I have adopted a rule that if they don't bring it up, I don't bring it up. I don't even want to talk about the subject of their split, to be honest. I will if they want to, but with Tim especially, I'm much more concerned about his mental and physical health as he dealt with some pretty serious issues leading up to the eventual split and he needs support to get back on track. Also, the therapist thing shocked me too. The only thing I can imagine other than this being a not-so-good therapist is that I can't be sure what version of the story she tells her therapist. I think a lot of people end up wasting their money lying to their therapist because the truth is hard to admit. Though, a good therapist should be at least decent at sussing that out. Anyway, Kim and I spoke and I told her I'd be needing an apology before we sparked things up again. It should be no surprise that it was not forthcoming. She explained that beyond not being willing to share information with her, there were times where I was less gentle than I could have been. I do have a way of communicating which to me is direct, not beat around the bush, but to others, it can seem a bit harsh, and it's something I'm trying to improve about my communication. So when she would insist for information, I would just say, no. We talked about this. There's no point insisting, etc., instead of being more empathetic. I apologized for it. Still, she wasn't willing to own up to having treated me poorly. She says that because of that, I wasn't being a real friend to her. I had to get some things done, so I ended the conversation there. The next day, I texted her saying that I don't want a friendship that requires me to be perfect all the time in order to be a real friend, and that is not an expectation I think should be put on anyone. I told her she needs to own up to how she made me feel before we put anything behind us. Her answer was, and I quote, "Your loss. Sorry, not sorry," which honestly made me feel a lot better about everything. If someone is legitimately going through a tough time, it makes me want to put in a real effort. But if that person is so far off the deep end that they actually talk like that in a real-life conversation, then shrug. What's there left to try for? They're far too gone. The most frustrating part of it all is that they're talking again, which means that my relationship with Kim could have finally moved on from the whole "give me info, please." We were so close to getting past this whole ordeal with our friendship intact, but alas, didn't work out that way. It's still painful to lose this friend, but at least I know I tried my best and can move on with no regrets. Absolutely right, OP. You did everything you could. You were a good friend. She just didn't want it. She apparently wanted some sort of crony, but you're not playing that game. So here's wishing you the best in the future. Hope that baby